morning, Julia. Good morning, sir.
Lots to talk about today. Can we talk about inflation first of all, because that will be at the front of a lot of people's minds facing their bills. Inflation has risen from 2.6% in March up to 3.5% in April. Largely, we understand, down to household bills. So it's the energy bills going up, it's your water bills, council tax bills on average about 5% most parts of the country. Is this all down to Labour policy? Is inflation their fault?
I always find it fascinating, and this is, by the way, this isn't a party political point of view. I always find it fascinating when people on the left or the Democrats in America or the Labour Party do the same here. But when you blame one particular government for the state of the economy, when obviously there's so many mitigating factors and knock-on effects, because policies take a long time to come into action, unless it's, Liz Truss's mini budget, let's be honest, there's very few things that have an immediate shocking effect. So, of course, there's multiple things, but I don't think that Rachel Reeves has helped herself in this situation with the way that she's approached the economy and the way she's trying to handle it. She's trying to have her cake and eat it with regard to some policies and the way that she presents herself. And I just don't think it's adhering to any particular direction or ideological kind of vision for the economy as a whole. And as a result, she's got herself in this situation where she's trying to play fiscal responsibility, but also trying to do a bit of Keynesian economics and trying to do investment at the same time. It's just not working.
She hasn't got the money for it. But the key thing is, a lot of people are saying, like, OK, you could understand why you need to pay for stuff. You might have to put some tax up. You put taxes up on jobs, national insurance, employers' contributions going up. That's going to have the opposite effect on the economy. But, the energy bills, an awful lot, we were told, were we not, that energy bills were going to come down by £300 a year. They've gone up by that amount. Large part of that increase is, I'm afraid, the analysis is very clear, down to all the subsidies of fossil fuels and all the extras there. These are government policies. Now, a lot of it put in place by the last set of Tory governments, absolutely. But water bills, again, that's a long-standing issue. I don't necessarily blame the government for that. But council tax bills going up, again, that's down to the amount of things that we require councils to do and the amount of funding they get from central government. I mean, you guys have been in office for less than a year, but I'm wondering how long you can blame everything on the last lot for.
You're absolutely right, and to be clear, they're not my guys. I'm not even a member of the party anymore.
You're not?
Well, no, I'm not. I wouldn't be at the moment. I'm so disenfranchised with Keir Starmer. But at the same time, there are things they could be doing, real Labour things that they could be doing with regard to the water companies, the energy companies. These water companies posting profits that are absolutely despicable year after year when people are paying, through their nose for water bills. It just doesn't make sense to me. I joined the Labour Party because there was a clear vision and kind of value at the core of things and how they handled economics, as I'm sure Claire did with the Tories, and that's the way you kind of view it. But this is so out of kilter with anything you would expect the Labour Party.
This is the interesting thing, because Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, seem to be upsetting everyone sort of on the centre and the right, certainly judging by the polls, but not pleasing the left. Angela Rayner, the Deputy Prime Minister, certainly hopes to please the left. There's been the leaking of a document. Who are we kidding? It's obviously come from Angela Rayner's office. The Deputy Prime Minister wrote a memo to the Chancellor. Angela Rayner, as we know, I'm sure, a highly trained economist, probably as highly trained and experienced as the actual Chancellor probably is. She probably spent more years as an economist at a bank than Rachel Reeves did. But she's pushing for a tax raid on savers. That's how the Telegraph, you've seen the document, are putting it. They say that she's proposed 8 different tax increases. She also wants to reinstate the pensions lifetime allowance for high earners. You've got £1 million. After that, you don't get your extra allowances. Changing dividend taxes, making them higher. New rates on the million people who pay the additional rate of income tax, so the top earners, and a higher corporation tax level for the banks. I mean, Jeremy Corbyn could have written this memo and it would have been very popular. I imagine it would go down very well indeed with a lot of backbench Labour MPs and indeed Labour voters. Would it be enough to bring you back?
It's the kind of policy that I'd like to see, Julia.
Tax the rich, tax that lot over there.
Yeah, the things that we disagree on, but that's the Labour Party, right? That's why a lot of people, vote Conservative, because they don't believe in Labour policies. However, the problem here is that this hasn't come from Angela Rayner. This has come from the trade unions, because Angela is the voice or one of the remaining voices, now that the likes of Louise Haig's gone, at the cabinet table, who represents the trade union movement. That is her tradition. The Labour Party is made up of what we call different traditions, people who come from different sides of the party. Angela came through the same tradition I did, which was the trade unions, which is why you may mock her for not having a economics degree or whatever. But similar to me,
I'd never mock anyone for not having an economics degree.
similar to me, she doesn't have any qualifications, and she came through the trade union movement, which got people who were working real jobs into politics. So that's her tradition. But she's giving a voice to those.
She is. However, she has also always been in the public sector and perhaps doesn't, like an awful lot of your front bench, understand anything about how private business work. We're seeing more and more. We've got billionaires have left the country, millionaires leaving every few minutes this country.
But
at the end of the day, taxing the rich more, taxing those people over there a lot more to pay for everything. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in any other country.
I don't think the private sector is short of voices that are standing up for it, put it that way.
Well, they're standing up for it, but at the end of the day, any country that does instigate these sort of higher taxes do actually see the rich people. I mean, they are very able to just up sticks and move to their other house somewhere else and take up residency there. If we put tax on, I just think this is the Corbynista politics.
I'm sick of being blackmailed by rich people, Julia, as a country.
But that's implying that they're not paying tax at all. The top 1% of earners in this country pay about 30% of all tax in this country. I think they're paying their fair share.
Yes, but when you look at that comparison to what it costs to live and what the rest of working people are paying and how much percentage of the cost working people have to spend on tax just to get their bins emptied, and how much that costs them with regards to the cost of living, then it doesn't impact rich people.
No, of course, when you're richer, it doesn't impact you more. Of course it does. Of course it doesn't. But most of the people who are well off in this country are well off because they haven't inherited it. They've worked really hard and they've done well. Now, I know there are lots of people who work very hard but don't end up doing well. I get that. But why do you want to sort of feel like in some way they've done something bad and they should be punished when they're trying to save for their future, save for their family's future?
It's not punishment. It's society. And I know there's a lot of people...
But they're already paying a lot of tax.
A lot of people who want us to move away from society. This is the world that we're in, okay? Costs are up. People are paying through the nose for everything.
What percentage tax should well-off people pay?
But it's not for me to
No, I'm asking your opinion. You left the Labour Party because you weren't happy with the policies. They're not lefty enough for you. What percentage? I mean, Francois Hollande got into became the French president. He instigated a 70% tax on the well-off, and basically people just left the country the next day. So what percentage do you think would be about right?
But I've already told you that I'm not an economist and I'm not going to pretend to be, so I'm not going to throw figures about, at the same time.
But it should be higher than 45% plus national insurance.
My point of view
is over 50%.
That I think the recouping of the money and where money is claimed from the Treasury and brought into the Treasury from is not right and not done in the right direction.
Recouping of the money. It's there. It's not the state's money. It's people's private money, first of all.
I get that, Julia. But
wouldn't it be better to get all those people who are not working?
We've had this debate before. If you believe in society, then unfortunately these are the costs that come with.
I absolutely think that rich people should pay more tax than poorer people, and that people should contribute. But I also think people have a moral duty to contribute, to work and contribute, no matter what their circumstances are, if they're able to work. What about getting the roughly 5 million people of working age who are not working into work?
Your priority, as always, is to go after those with very little. My priority...
Well, they've got very little because they're not working. They'd have more if they worked.
I do not care their circumstances, Julia. If they have very little, I'm not going to target them when I could be targeting...
But you could help them not to have very little by insisting they got a job. That would make their lives better. That'd be better for their physical health, mental health, self-respect, better for their kids, better for society. You believe in society. Everyone being a net contributor who can be, or contributor, is surely a good thing for society.
That is not, I believe, the majority view towards people on benefits.
I hate to tell you. I think the polling shows that it is, actually.
The polling, you can find polling in different directions.
Oh, okay. So your polling is the right polling and my polling is the wrong polling.
No.
Well, that's what you just basically said.
If I can show a poll that's the opposite of the poll you show...
Well, then, so when you say that's not the majority view, you're presumably basing that on a poll or just people you know?
No, I'm just saying, I do not believe that in the conservative media and the bubble that you sit
I
in a
don't
lot,
sit in a
and
conservative media bubble at all,
Julia,
mate.
I've just
You know
heard your
nothing about
viewers.
my life, honestly.
Julia, your viewers and your listeners are some of the most heinously right-wing people. When I do your
Heinously
show,
right wing.
I need to tell you this right now. When I do your show, the emails that I receive afterwards, the woman who just called into you before, who's
I
cried
have
about
your email.
as
I
opposed
don't
to
have your email.
other kinds of racists. These are not normal people. These are people on the fringes, on the extreme side of politics. And the irony is, of course, they're all bothered about the term far right, but they don't realize that if they just did a political compass test online, it's very easy to do and free, they would find most of their beliefs are to the far right of
You
politics.
you you you
That's
think
their,
you
that's where
think
they
you
stand.
think that expecting not to have two-tier justice,
There's no
expecting
such
people
thing
to
as
work if they
two-tiered
can,
justice.
not
It's a
having open
conspiracy.
borders, deporting illegal migrants. You think that is all far right, don't you?
No, I believe a constant fear of immigration and xenophobia and white nationalism
White
and
nationalism now.
yeah, white nationalism. Because if you grill down with these people, Julia, I've been on doorsteps. Have you gone and knocked on doors?
Yeah, I have.
From these people, they are bothered about less and less white faces in their communities. White
They're bothered about a load of people come to the country who don't share any of the
they say
values,
that
don't share any
culture.
of the culture.
They say they're losing English culture. What the hell is English
Well,
culture?
there's your problem. What I know what English culture is.
Well, I'm English, and I don't know what English
Well,
culture
that's
you mean.
how do
What
you
do I
not
mean?
know what it's sense of fair play? It's our democratic values. It's
Sense of
equality. It's
fair
freedom of
play.
speech. That is such a big part of English stroke British culture. I think that is kind of in our
Yeah.
DNA, actually. Yeah.
Because Pakistanis and Indians famously don't do fair play. It just makes
Sorry, are
absolute
you under any illusion about how politics is run in both India and Pakistan? Are
I'm
you
sorry.
under an
I'm
illusion
not.
about the level of
Listen,
corruption involved in both of those
unbelievable.
countries'
The
political
point
systems?
is that a lot of these people are absolutely deluded. And if you speak to them and you drill down in
I
it,
do.
and if you do due
And they're
diligence,
all
you'll see
heinous,
when they
far
fall
right,
in.
and racist, as far as you're
Yeah, yeah,
concerned.
because if you believe in policies and politics that are to the right and to the extreme right of politics,
Extreme right.
far
I
right
hate
is
to tell
true.
you, most
What is
Labour
wrong with that?
voters would like a limit on mass immigration. And I
Yes,
think 85% of
yes,
the public would like it to be, I think, well under 100,000 people in the low
yeah,
tens of thousands or zero. But are
yeah.
so is 85% of the country heinous, right-wing and xenophobic
No,
and racist?
because you're doing what you always do, which is
Oscar,
conflate anybody, trying to make it sound like I think anybody who has a concern about
well,
immigration is
that's
far
what
right.
you said,
Not what I've said.
basically.
No, it is not. I've said the people who are bothered, who are white nationalists,
White
who are bothered about the
nationalists.
color of people's skin and culture and losing culture somehow, that is a different
Yeah,
side of it.
some people are bothered about the skin colour, and I believe, yeah, that is racism. I am
Listen,
not bothered
the likes
about the
of Tommy
skin colour at
Robinson,
all. So does
the
that?
likes of Tommy
I
Robinson.
one? I share a lot of the views that you just talked about. Does that make me racist and heinous and
No,
far right?
it makes you to the far right of British politics,
On the
Joe. I
far
mean, like,
right.
Google your name, you'll find that that's what you're
Oh,
labelled
so
as.
people call me far right, then I must be far right.
Have you ever done a political compass test?
No,
Have you done?
because I'm a
I'll do
grown
one.
up.
I'll do one with you live on air if you
Oh,
want. We'll
mate,
see how
I
you
know
settle
what
the
my
question.
views are. I know what my views are, and I know how I vote. But you think that I'm far right. But am I racist as well
No,
and
no,
heinous?
no. That's for you to decide, Julia. I
No,
don't
I
think.
know whether I am or I'm not. Am I
Come on.
racist or heinous, or
I would,
both?
I wouldn't come on here if I did think you were racist because I
That's
wouldn't platform
nice.
you.
Just the audience.
Yeah, no, just some of your
Just
audience.
some of the audience who
Yeah.
miraculously have your email. Funnily enough, I'm not quite sure
Look
how.
me up and find my email and tell me that I'm a white traitor and all the rest. I'll get it. I will. I'll
Send them to
forward
me.
it on
Send them to me. Absolutely. And again, I would be as horrified as you've been by that. But I think if you think that that is my audience.
No,
I mean,
the point is, in all seriousness, and listen, I
yeah,
wouldn't come on your show if I thought you were racist,
that's nice
and I
of you.
do not think this is intentional. I think through the gaps and through genuine concerns with immigration, which people have because it's not been tackled by progressive, series of governments
Yeah.
haven't taken this seriously as an issue because of not listening to working class communities. There are now people seeking to divide, the likes of Nigel Farage, the likes of Tommy Robinson have been doing it for years, but they're seeking to point and blame brown people and people of a different
Brown
culture
people.
for the problems.
By the way, we were all racist, and we've got to have to break because the time is against us, but we were all racist when we voted for Brexit as well. And that was about limiting, what was it, vast majority of white European people come to this country. We can't win, folks. James Matthewson, I still appreciate coming on the show, even if you've insulted my audience, but former Labour Party spokesman James Matthewson, I don't want anyone receiving any abuse for anything they say. I really, really don't. So do not, if anyone has done that, don't do it. Don't give them ammunition. But yeah, I'd love to hear your response to what you had to say.